Thank you very much, guys. Okay, so we have spoken about people, we have spoken about places, we have spoken about money, and we have spoken about health. Now we're going to bring these all together in our last panel of the day. And this is Cleantech in space. Call the Mothership, and we start to think about our planet and everything around it as well. So let's welcome to the stage our wonderful panelists, Marko Brljacic, co-founder at NUO2 and GBC Hub, Branimir, CTO at Oikon Limited, Institute of Applied Ecology, Filip Novoselnik, founder and CEO at Protostar Labs, and moderating this, let's welcome back to the stage Bernard Ivazic, CEO and co-founder at Unicorn Underground. Maybe he knows where the unicorns are. Round of applause, please. Bravo.
Vratit ćemo ga tamo. Okay. Thank you. Our time is running, so let's be quick. I mean, it's truly a privilege to be on this panel, since we are talking about space technologies, and we are talking about clean tech, and the mixture between those two. And Infobip and Marko and me managed together really interesting innovators from Croatia that are building products and services in this department. So first, if you can shortly introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Marko, founder of NUO2, co-founder of GBC Hub. We develop panels that capture CO2 and release oxygen, so we can also have an application in space, but you're going to hear about it later.
Hi, hello. My name is Branimir. I'm the CTO of Oikon, Institute of Applied Ecology, Croatia-based, Zagreb-based environmental consultancy, and part of the team developing downstream Earth observation services and products that use space-based data to study our environment, nature, various ecosystems, and helping protect the balance in nature.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Filip Novoselnik. I am a co-founder and CEO of Protostar Labs, a company based in Osijek. We are developing solutions for the space industry, but also for some other critical sectors on Earth as well. It is a combination of hardware, software. We are using a lot of AI, edge computing, and so on. I will go into detail probably a bit later. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bernard. I'm going to be a moderator today, and I lead Croatian space association called HiSpace, and I'm also a co-founder at Unicorn Underground. And before we begin, I would like to ask you, how many of you think that that going to space or creating space products in Croatia is even feasible, and then possible, and then manageable, and then unicorns? Please raise your hands. I see one. You see more? Going to say, 4, okay. Okay, and how many of you are here, like right now? Like 60? Okay. Not a good percentage, but we are going to change that. Marko, if you can tell us a little bit about the idea behind the panel, what we are trying to succeed.
Yeah. Well, most of you know me from NUO2, my startup. Well, what most of you don't know is that I grew up watching, let's say, Japanese cartoons that today wouldn't be fit for children. I'm talking about Robotech, I'm talking about Captain Harlock, I'm talking about Hokuto no Ken, and that's where I got my inspiration for space, because, hey, people still need oxygen in space to breathe, right? And they have limited opportunities and limited resources in space, like we do on Earth. because if you think about it, Earth is also a space vessel. We are traveling through space. We have a very thin layer called the atmosphere that is protecting us from space. So we are leaving space technology. So that's how it clicked with me. Okay, I'm solving something for climate tech, but it has an application on space. So why not show people that two worlds that seem apart, like clean tech and space tech, can actually solve the same thing, and clean tech solutions can go into space, and space tech solutions can be applied on Earth. So
okay, let's make it more concrete. What would you like the products? You are building one of those products. Okay, can you explain how it functions and what's its use in space?
Yeah, well, we're developing NO2 panels that draw in surrounding air, separate CO2, breaking down into carbon and oxygen. The oxygen goes outside, the carbon remains inside. So basically, it's like a tree with a power cord that you can fit in your room. People pass like 80% of their times indoors. They need oxygen to breathe, and they release CO2. So you have to remove CO2, and you have to bring in oxygen. It's the same thing that happens in space. In space, you will be 100% of the time inside. You need oxygen, and you need to remove CO2. So for us, it was pretty easy. Okay, instead of installing it in a room, you can install it in a moon base, in a Mars base, in a space station. You just need electricity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Branimir, when I watch what Oikon is doing, Institute of Ecology, and then I found one story about preserving the birds population on Earth with space data, and a lot of other projects. So what is Oikon doing? Some concrete product that can actually give us an idea of how space and clean tech are emerging.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can give you an example that's even smaller than birds. We are using space data, satellite imagery, to track the movement of forest pests, which are smaller than 1 millimeter, and we can pretty precisely track how they move, how they spread. So basically, satellite imagery gives us the ability to understand the environment and see connections between what we do, how we approach environment, and what is our effect on the environment. For example, talking about this pest, this is a pest that attacks oak forests, and while watching it move, analyzing hotspots over time series, and so on, we saw that the primary vector of spread is through truck stops. So basically, truckers carrying logs stop to get a coffee, and those pests spread around, infect the forests, and so on. And then it brings a lot of destabilization into the ecosystem, and so on. So basically, this is what we do all the time. We are looking at space-based sensors to see what is happening around us, something that we cannot see with our two eyes, something that we need bigger picture about.
We are in Zadar on the Adriatic coast. We had a really fruitful tourist season. Still is going on. You made one great map of Croatian coast. From what I noticed, is it shows where the vegetation is, a different kind of vegetation, but not on the ground, but in the sea. How does that work?
Well, you look at the same way it works on land. You see the connections that separate different habitats, different species from one another, and you look at it through different across the spectrum of EM radiation, across time, and you separate species one from another, and you can basically map the environment. We are not just doing that. Because all of our lines of development have to have two things. They need to be environmentally minded, and they need to start from some frustration that some of the team members have. So one of the examples that is connected to the coast is our system for automatic detection of the devastation of coastal ecosystems. That means that we plan to stop this, the destruction of the karst shoreline in Croatia, and having excuses that nobody was there to check upon what was happening. We are developing, and we are now in the last stages of developing a system that automatically pings the inspections, the authorities. Okay, somebody is doing something here that is very likely illegal, and they need to go into the field right away. And this is just one of the examples.
Awesome. And this map of Croatian coast, Adriatic coast, vegetation on the seafloor, it's available online. You can.
Yes, it's freely available to anybody worldwide. You can see it. It's actually an official Croatian map, completely available.
Okay, thank you. Filip, you're working with satellites and artificial intelligence. That's a hot topic these days on Shift. So, yeah. What concrete example of usage and connection between Cleantech and space can you give us?
Yeah, sure. Maybe a bit of background about the company. Company was founded in 2019. Back then, we were working on computer vision and AI for these industrial or terrestrial applications. When Croatia, although the idea for space was already there, in the beginning, it seems unlikely or impossible that we will be able to work in space industry for some small city in Slavonia, from Belišće or later Osijek. Things started to change in 2021 when Croatia started its journey towards ESA. Then we got an opportunity to apply for funding. And
I'm sorry, ESA is European Space Agency. ESA is,
okay. European Space Agency. And today we are mostly focused on onboard data processing. Today satellites are producing and generating more and more data with existing antennas, links, and our capabilities to downlink data back to Earth. Sometimes it is it is very time consuming, sometimes it is not possible, it is costly, and so on. So the idea is to move on board to the satellites. The main challenge on satellites is power usage, obviously. So the idea is to deploy AI to some specific chipsets, like FPGAs. Then models are running very, very efficiently. For example, if you compare it to GPU power usage, it will be 5 or 6 times less in case of using FPGAs. And in space industry, the most important thing is to have flight heritage, so that your solution that you are developing is tested in relevant environment, and relevant environment is space, obviously. Last year, we got the opportunity to deploy AI model for telemetry analysis on one ESA satellite. It happened in May last year. It was really last minute, since the OPSAT satellite is used as a flying lab. So you can uplink your code, test it on board, downlink results back. And as every satellite has its lifetime, expected lifetime, and that satellite was already in a 5th year. So after 5 years, it will simply be pulled by Earth's gravity and will simply burn in atmosphere. That's the end of life for most of the satellites. And we were really running against time to do experiment in time, and actually we did it 2 days before satellite deorbited over Australia. In fact, we invested like 6 months of work to gain that flight heritage, and it really took, it was a matter of few days if we will succeed or not. And today I can also say that we are working on several ESA contracts. One project started just today officially. We proposed to ESA that it makes sense to build a telescope that will observe sun in some age alpha area. It is relevant for smart grids, for space weather, and so on. It is just the first phase of a project, but the end goal would be to have a permanent view of the sun from the orbit. And the goal is to develop basically chromosphere monitoring instrument that will end up on a satellite in space one day.
Mm-hmm. Since we are on a startup conference, And ESA is, everybody's looking for funding. And ESA is a really large organization that has a substantial amount of money available for all sorts of projects. But there is a lot of rules to be able to get that money. And your company is very successfully cooperating with ESA for a very long time. So at which point are we now in Croatia regarding accessibility of that funding? Because we are talking about more than 7 billion euros available each year for different kind of projects on European level, not Croatian local level, but this is we are in a times that are changing. This is opening up. So what's the situation in Croatia right now?
Yeah, currently Croatia is a cooperating member state. It is just one step on a journey towards full membership. The next step would be associate member, and then the last step is a full member. We have very limited access to different calls by ESA, simply because we are at that stage currently. But there is an opportunity once a year, more or less, for Croatian companies. There is one call dedicated for Croatian companies where you can get funding. There is always a lot of companies applying. And I think that we are in a good shape, and in a few years we'll probably become associate member state, and then much more different opportunities will be for Croatian companies and entities.
Sorry. What does it mean in terms of if you're a startup? I don't know, from Croatia, you want to get that kind of funding. How?
It is not that hard. It is if you have some idea, if you have some end user at the end of the line, it is like a 25 pages proposal. So it is not that hard to get that money. You need to have an idea. You need to have probably some partners, or usually, and you need to have an idea how to commercialize it. Who will buy it in the end? So it is not that hard to get that money, especially compared to some EU calls where the getting the money is much more complex, and especially in implementation phase. I always like to say that EU calls and EU projects, they ask you about administration. They are full of bureaucracy. But they are not interested in your technical work. What is the output? They are not interested.
Okay.
You need to have all paperwork properly done.
Thank you,
ESA,
Filip.
I just want to finish here. ESA is quite the opposite. They ask you about your results. They give, if you have, I don't know, few milestones, few deliverables. When you deliver, you get the money. You do whatever you want with that money. Simple like that.
That sounds awesome. Branimir?
Well, I just wanted to highlight that they are extremely serious about being competitive and about having clients, and they are actually a perfect partner for startups and for small companies, because you can get the funding really easily and there is no competition. Somebody really wants you to succeed and supports you in that. So basically, go and search and apply. It's really nice.
Okay, how many of you are developing any kind of space technology or are interested in space technologies here in Croatia? Okay, one. How many of you are interested in Cleantech technologies here in Croatia? Okay. How many of you are waiting for the next panel? Okay, I'm joking. Topic of Cleantech in Croatia is more or less about recycling, and we are at the first stages of that. But there is a lot of products, a lot of initiatives that are really good and fruitful that are developing here in Croatia. Marko, you talked about resources. And why it is really important to think about scarcity resources in terms of space?
Well, everyone currently in the industry, I mean the whole industry, not just space, they want growth and growth and growth. And in nature, the only thing that grows and grows and grows is a tumor. So that is why you can't have it anymore like we're doing it now. We need to rethink how to revolutionize what we are doing day by day. Our resources are finite, and we are using them as too fast, and we can't replenish our resources with recycling or with alternative uses. It applies in the similar way in space. What goes up in space, you carry everything with you, and then when you have to come back, you carry everything back. So you can't, you have to have in mind for every gram that you bring, for every gram that you use, for every watt, for every liter, everything needs to be very calculated, and everything needs to fit a very delicate system and a very delicate equilibrium. And it's the same thing that goes on with Earth and the whole ecosystem on Earth. It's like a sailing ship. You pull a cord here, and something else moves on the other side. So you have always to think about consequences of what you're doing in Earth and in space.
Let's talk about trends. What I notice with younger generation, they are more interested in cleantech technologies, and more interesting in preserving nature as a whole. On the other side, there is ESG regulatory framework which actually supports the development. Since all three of you are in that kind of business, do you see that these trends apply to, let's say, to the real world?
Yeah, well, it applies. The thing with ESG, and that's nice that you brought it up. Sadly, ESG now is only about reporting. So it's a nuisance. It's a waste of paper, a waste of energy, a waste of effort. ESG can work only if you set ESG goals and you get subsidized if you fulfill them, or if you get penalized if you don't. Reporting is just, how the French would say, l'art pour l'art. So it has a self-explanatory purpose. It just sustains itself, no other purpose.
Branimir, you noted.
Yeah,
So I mean, you agree?
Sadly, yes. About ESG reporting, about all of that regulation, it's just a word on paper. When it becomes interesting for larger companies that rely on supply chains that are spread globally, is climate risk, is nature financing, it's the ecosystem services that the ecosystem naturally provides that really impact the movement of goods and finance and global finance. And that's where the considerations about ESG could have a fruitful ground, you know, using the procedures that the environment is actually doing that isn't that sustainable, and basically making money out of it, or saving your own, or investing, smartly investing basically. And that's the area where I see the ESG story succeeding.
Filip, do you have a different opinion, or we are agreeing on this one?
I mean, I agree with colleagues. I can get a bit different perspective maybe, or I did not emphasize enough how we contribute to the sustainability. We actually save power, so AI needs a lot of power. We build systems that are efficient, so they use few times less amount of power needed to run these models. That's one thing. And the other thing, in some cases, we are able to provide information from a satellite much faster in case of some disasters or when the rapid response is needed. In traditional systems, satellites would capture the data, downlink everything on the ground when they have a link to the ground station, then do post-processing. It can take, I don't know, 10 hours. With our approach, we are able to do processing on board and just send back the events. If we detected that there is some fire or whatever, we are able to get the information to the ground in a few times less time.
Okay, thank you. A short question, yes, no. Is Cleantech in space too niche and too expensive?
Well, if you want to live, I don't think that's such a thing as expensive. I mean, you need Cleantech in space.
Okay. Branimir?
Yes, I agree. There is not a realistic alternative. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is probably not realistic at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. We have a little bit more time, so are there questions from the audience? Yes?
So for this whole panel, we have been talking about, recycling stuff in space because getting stuff to space is just a little bit too expensive. And stuff such as water is really easy to recycle. But what about food? Like Martians, like stations on Mars cannot receive food like space stations, since it will be too difficult, and storing food for those 2 years will be really, really difficult. So they will have to produce food by themselves. And as we know, they need a diverse diet. They can't just eat off plants for eternity. So how will they produce food on Mars and not get malnutrition from it?
Okay, if I understood, it was about production of food on Mars?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for the question. I think it deserves a great applause. We have a younger generation that is really passionate about Cleantech in space. So unfortunately, none of these guys are actually producing food, if I understood correctly. But I'm sure they're trying to give you an answer.
Well, it's not that difficult, and if you watch the movie Martian, it's yes, but if you send them seeds like potatoes and tomatoes, cucumbers, salad, you can also use plant-based proteins like legumes, etc. So you can have a variety of foods. You don't eat only potatoes. You just need to send the seeds along with the people.
Okay, Brane and Filip, what are you? How would you answer?
Well, we give Filip a few more years for him to develop replicators, and when he develops replicators, FPGA-based replicators, then we can just replicate food. Like on Star Trek.
Maybe.
That's one of the solutions. But no, I agree with Marko. So
I can also try to answer. There are many technologies that were invented for space, but ended up in everyday use. One such technology is baby formula. You know, formula for feeding babies. It was invented by NASA or whoever. They actually tried to see how to mix some food for long-term space travel. And they managed to find this baby formula, and it ended up in everyday use. You maybe had it like when you were a little baby. Yeah, that is one way to feed future astronauts in some long-term space travel.
Excuse me, what is your name? Vieco. Okay, Vieco, thank you for the questions. I hope in the future you start building your own Cleantech in space solutions. And if you're not, if you decided to be a VC guy, I hope you go in this direction, because with that kind of passion, I think the whole niche will explode. We have time for one more question, and then we need to wrap up. So we don't have any questions. Okay. I will ask the final question then. How do you see Cleantech in space development in the future? Since we have now artificial intelligence, which is giving us all sorts of brainstorming ideas and also helping us analyze knowledge that we acquired so far, which boost the time of developing new innovations and new ideas. So are you more or less optimistic about the future of the whole niche during this new revolution with AI? The question is for all of you.
Okay, I'm always super optimistic about everything. That's my worst trait. But no, thinking about clean tech in space, I'm thinking about clean tech from space. So applying space-based technology to benefit our current environment on Earth, and things are technologically and in the business ecosystem moving forward a lot, because to use that data you don't need any infrastructure, you just need your laptop. You don't even need your laptop, you take out your phone and you can really do something that will benefit somebody else, and that's a great thing.
Awesome.
No, AI is a wonderful tool, and you need to use it. Why not? I mean, it's like, did people stop using the wheel? No. So AI is definitely a tool that's gonna help us, but only if we use it in the right way. And if we use it, let's say, in a similar way to what Filip is doing at his startup. So we need to take care about the energy consumption of AI, because right now, in these baby steps, AI has the same global energy consumption of Argentina. What happens if we start using it more? Where do we get the energy from?
And Filip?
Yeah, I think that AI will be used more and more in space industry in various roles for optimizing almost everything. And the key is to make it efficient. And that's exactly what we are trying to do on a small scale in our world. And yes, I think that in the future there will be more and more these dual-use technologies. There will be many technologies that are applied in space, but then applied on Earth as well, and vice versa, of course.
Thank you, Marko, Branimir, Filip. Thank you also, Vieko, for this wonderful question and this passion. Yeah, please give a big round of applause for the panelists, and we are ending the panel right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the rest of you. You can stay here for just a sec so you know as well. Okay, so now at 5 o'clock, we've got a Super Connectors event over in the workshop space. So if you want to connect with other people, investors, startups, get over there. Tonight at 9 p.m., the after party. I might see you before there somewhere else. That's in Arsenal in Zadar. Tomorrow we've got 2 keynotes here. We've got 2 fireside chats, 4 panels, and the pitch event on the main stage. So I hope to see you here tomorrow. And guys, thanks again. Obviously, we've seen in Croatia the niches of startups. It's just starting, right? Clean tech, health tech, they're only just coming out now. So thanks for being the last panel today. Keep up the good work. And guys, we'll see you all tomorrow, 10:30 here. Don't be late, and bring coffee. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.